Every mirror in Hana's house used to be a friend. A simple, honest friend that showed her exactly what she needed to see. Her reflection was just that, hers. Until one night, when everything changed, the clock on her bedside table glowed a stark red, 2:37 a.m. The silence of her home was shattered by a faint, rhythmic sound. Tap, tap, tap. It was sharp, like a fingernail on glass. Hana sat up, her heart a cold knot in her chest. The sound seemed to be coming from the bathroom. She slid out of bed, her bare feet cold against the hardwood floor, and crept down the hallway. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, a sliver of moonlight cutting through the darkness. She pushed it open. The tapping stopped. The room was still. Hana flicked on the light, squinting against the sudden brightness. She stood before the vanity, her own tired face staring back from the medicine cabinet mirror. Everything seemed normal. She sighed, feeling a bit foolish. It was probably just the house settling, or a branch against the window. But as she turned to leave, something made her look back. A chill, colder than the tile floor, snaked up her spine. In the mirror, her reflection was smiling. It wasn't a big smile, just a slight unnerving upward curve of the lips. But Hana wasn't smiling. Her own mouth was a firm, straight line, her eyes wide with dawning horror. She touched her lips, her fingers trembling. Her reflection mimicked the movement, but the smile remained, fixed and unnatural, a silent mockery. She slammed the bathroom door and ran back to her bed, pulling the covers over her head, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. The next morning, sunlight streamed through her window, and the night's terror felt like a bad dream. Almost, with a deep breath, she forced herself to face the bathroom mirror again. The smile was gone. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived today. Her reflection looked angry. Its brow was furrowed, its jaw clenched tight. A deep, simmering rage seemed to burn behind its eyes. A rage Hana didn't feel. She was just confused and deeply, deeply scared. She tried to brush her teeth, but watching the furious doppelganger mimic her every move made her hands shake. She left the bathroom, avoiding her own gaze. Later that day, she caught a glimpse of herself in the hallway mirror. This time, the reflection was terrified. Its eyes were wide with panic, its mouth open in a silent scream. It looked like it was seeing something horrific, something just over Hana's shoulder. She whipped around. Nothing, just an empty hallway. But the image of her own terrified face was seared into her mind. From that day on, every mirror became a window into a different nightmare. Each one held a new, twisted version of herself. In the living room, the decorative mirror above the fireplace showed her reflection weeping, silent tears streaming down its face. In her bedroom, the full-length mirror on her closet door revealed a version of her with a thin trickle of blood running from its nose. One reflection was gaunt and pale. Another was contorted in silent, agonizing laughter. The most terrifying one was in the small, antique mirror in the guest room. That reflection didn't move. It just stood there, its eyes completely black, two empty, abyssal voids, watching her with an unnerving stillness. Hana started avoiding mirrors altogether. She'd dress in the dark, do her makeup using her phone's camera, anything to avoid seeing those horrifying versions of herself. She felt like a prisoner in her own home, haunted by her own image. The nightmare was about to get worse. One evening, as she was rushing past the hallway mirror, she stopped dead. The terrified reflection, the one with the silent scream, was moving its mouth. No sound came out, but the words were clear, formed slowly, deliberately. "Let me out." A gasp escaped Hana's lips. She backed away slowly, her eyes locked on the pleading, desperate face in the glass. It mouthed the words again, more urgently this time. "Let me out." Suddenly, a loud tap echoed from the living room, then another from her bedroom, and another from the bathroom. Soon, a cacophony of tapping filled the house, coming from every single mirror. Tap, 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 tap! It was a frantic, desperate rhythm, all in perfect, terrifying sync. It sounded like dozens of hands, her hands, trapped behind the glass, trying to break through. The sound was deafening, a relentless assault on her sanity. Hana screamed, plugging her ears, and collapsed onto the floor, curling into a ball as the house vibrated with the sound of her other selves, trying to escape their glass prisons. On what she swore would be the final night, Hana took action. Armed with a stack of old sheets and blankets, she went on a mission. One by one, she covered every reflective surface in the house, the bathroom mirror, the hallway mirror, the decorative mirror. She shrouded them all in cloth, silencing the tapping and hiding the horrifying faces. With each covered mirror, a small piece of her sanity returned. Finally, her home was a fortress, free of reflections. Exhausted but relieved, she fell into her bed, the silence a comforting blanket. She drifted into a fitful, uneasy sleep. But a strange cold light pulled her back to consciousness. She opened her eyes. At the foot of her bed, where nothing had been before, stood a tall, ornate mirror. It wasn't one of hers. Moonlight glinted off its gilded frame, and in its polished surface, she saw her bedroom. She saw herself, sitting up in bed, her face a mask of terror, and standing right behind her in the reflection was another Hana. This one was closer, much closer than any of them had ever been, and its smile was wider, stretched into a grotesque, predatory grin that reached from ear to ear. Every instinct screamed at her. She threw herself around, her heart trying to burst from her chest, expecting to see the smiling doppelganger standing right there. But there was no one. The space behind her was empty. The air was cold, but she was alone. A shaky, confused breath escaped her lips. Maybe she was finally losing her mind. Maybe the stress had finally broken her. She slowly turned back, her eyes drawn irresistibly to the impossible mirror at the foot of her bed. She had to be sure. She looked. The reflection was still there, smiling that awful, stretched smile. But now, it leaned in close to her reflected ear, so close its lips were almost touching. And as Hana watched, paralyzed with a fear so absolute it felt like ice in her veins, her reflection in the mirror whispered, the soundless words chilling her to the bone. Now, it mouthed, the smile never faltering, "It's your turn to switch places." The world twisted, the glass seemed to ripple like water, and a cold hand grabbed her from behind, pulling her into the darkness. The last thing she saw was her own smiling face, looking back at her from the other side of the glass.